How's it going, everyone? My name is True Wonder Dog, and today we're having a look at Terry Bogard. And believe it or not, this actually isn't the first Smash video I've done on this channel. I actually did make a few guides in the past, and they were received pretty well. Decent amount of views, positive reception online, all that good stuff, but mostly because the Smash community is just awesome. Love you all. Without any further ado, let's have a look at Terry Bogard and see how he plays. So one thing I love about this character right away is very similar to Ken and Ryu. Even if you flip, he stays facing the opponent. If it's one-on-one, he always faces the opponent no matter what. So even right here, he turns around. See that? Isn't that great? Now, of course, some characters do benefit from facing the wrong way. They have really good back airs and stuff like that. But I just love knowing that Terry Bogard is always going to face the opponent. It makes me feel a bit more secure. So first up, we have the forward tilt. Not as fast as other characters like Ryu or Ken, but pretty decent range on it and not bad damage as well. It's pretty darn good, and you can special cancel it on hit. Now the timing isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. You do have to actually wait for it to connect before canceling, but when you do, you are rewarded with a combo as long as your move is fast enough, which is pretty darn cool. And then we have the down tilt. Once again, not as fast as some characters like Ryu or Ken, but still pretty darn good. And if you want to charge, you can actually cancel this into his rising tackle, which can do a lot of damage and is a true combo. So if you don't mind learning a charge character, it can be a very good way to start off combos. And last but not least, we have the up tilt. It's an okay anti-air and can also combo into things like his rising tackle, which is awesome. It could also combo into his crack shoot, his burn knuckle, all that good stuff. So it's not just a decent anti-air, but it's also a great way to start off combos, especially in the neutral. Once again, one of the best things about these tilts is the option to special cancel them. So on hit, once you learn the timing, you can combo these into different types of moves. Some moves have more hit stuns than others, and therefore combo more easily into his specials. And that's just really cool to me. I love how they incorporated the idea of standard 2D fighting game combos with Terry Bogard. So next up, let's talk about the smashes. We have the forward smash. I do like how Terry travels forward a bit. It's really nice. It can be good for whiff punishing. He does cover a pretty good amount of distance, and it's not too slow either, so it's a pretty decent forward smash. Nothing wrong with it. It's not super great either, but I think it's just good enough. And then we have the down smash. Unfortunately, does not hit on both sides of the character, but still some decent range. Don't get me wrong, I do love characters whose down smash hits on both sides, but even though it doesn't, it still has some pretty good range and does decent damage as well, so it's a pretty darn good down smash. And last but not least, the up smash. Not very good range on this thing. He does duck a little bit though, so it can anti-air as the opponent's coming down. Though to be honest, Terry does have much better options for that with more invincibility, but even so, on a moment's notice, this can be a decent anti-air if the opponent wants to fly over you. And of course, we can't forget his running attack. I do forget the exact name for this, please forgive me. It takes a long time to memorize all the fighting game terms for Smash, but it does remind me a lot of Samus, and I was a Samus main before this guy came out, so it's just awesome to fly across the screen with this giant hitbox. It's a really good tackle move, and if you're someone who's a bit more casual, you like playing with several friends at once, it's a great way to just clear every opponent on the ground. It just tackle, 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 just go every direction. And before talking about the air attacks, let's cover the throws. So you have the up throw. This can be a great way to lead into combos like his crack shoot or his rising tackle can be a great way to follow this up since the opponent is left in front of you. You may want to walk forward a little bit, but you could do an up air or you could do a rising tackle, all that good stuff depending on how stunned the opponent is with their percentage. And then we have the forward and back throw, which are honestly pretty similar. Put a pretty good amount of space between you and the opponent, and if you want to be a little bit cheeky, you could try to chase them down with a burn knuckle as they're getting up. That can be a nice trick, especially if you want to do the full input for the special moves. And last but not least, we have his down throw. Leaves the opponent very, very close, though not close enough to combo into his rising tackle, at least not for a true combo. If you delay it a bit, it will still connect, but it's not a true combo. The opponent could recover before you get that rising tackle out, which is a bit of a shame. It would have been really cool if that was possible. But even so, the opponent is still very close, so it's still a very dangerous situation, and you could still up tilt. Right, you can still up tilt, and that works just fine. And can we cancel that up tilt into a rising tackle? Ooh, maybe at certain percentages. Doesn't work right now when Samus is very low percentage, but maybe after a few more hits I could find some more creative combos after that. And next, let's talk about the air attacks. So we have the forward air. Pretty decent. Hits a little bit below him as well as in front of him, so it can be a great way to come in from the sky. It's got a pretty good hitbox both downward and forward. Pretty darn decent. Not a lot of damage, but pretty good range on it, and I love that it hits a bit downward. Makes it very useful as you're closing in on the opponent from above. And then we have the down air. This one is just great. So much damage on this thing. It can just be perfect after a short hop. You hop right up, hit them with this, and this can easily kill the opponent if they have a high percentage, and it can also spike as well. So if the opponent's off the stage and you catch them with this, this can definitely kill them. And then we have the up air. Pretty good if the opponent's above you coming back to the stage and they want to attack from above. This can clear the skies, you know, protect the ground from below. And of course we have the neutral air. Pretty darn quick, very fast move. Now I don't believe this one spikes, but pretty darn fast. And it does have some sweet spots. If you land it, you could cancel into things, and that could combo if they're at a higher percent. So it's pretty darn good for that. So it does have some utility. Of course, it's not as strong as the other air attacks, at least not by itself, but it can combo, so that does help it make it a little bit more useful. And then next up, we gotta talk about the special moves. Now these can be very, very complicated. There's a lot to cover here, because Terry, just like Ryu and Ken, has several ways to do his special attacks. So the default way is just use the special button, right? But you can also do a command input for it and get your specials that way as well. They do more damage and are just more effective in general. So for example, if I want Burn Knuckle, I could do forward and special, or I could do quarter circle forward and special. And the move will look a little bit different and also give me more damage as well as a reward for doing the true input. So that's just really cool. And this works for every other special move as well, so let's go ahead and just talk about them one by one. So by default, here's just neutral special. It's his fireball. It's his power wave, though from what I've tested, it doesn't actually cancel out other projectiles, which had me a bit sad. Now this is true to Fatal Fury and King of Fighters in some regards, though in some games it does actually cancel out other projectiles, so it's not a bad neutral special by any means, but I just wish it was a bit better at canceling out the opponent's zoning. And then we have the forward special, which is his Burn Knuckle. But he has so many ways to do this. He can do just forward and special, or he can do quarter circle forward and special, or he can do quarter circle forward and smash or attack, whichever lingo you want to use. He has so many ways to do this move, and the point is, it's a lot of damage. If you can combo into this thing, it's going to be a very good way to kill. And if the opponent's flying in at you and you catch him with this, it's going to do a lot of damage. And you can do it in the air, so happy accidents there, right? All of his specials can be done in the air, which is just bizarre. And I should mention that the air power wave is a great way to hit the opponent without risking your own hitbox. So if the opponent's charging a smash attack, they could whiff and just hit your fire instead, which won't do any damage to you, but your fire still connects. And I do also believe that, oddly enough, the projectile does more damage in the air. So his neutral special in the air does more damage than it does on the ground, which I find a bit interesting. But the point is, all of his specials can be done in the air, which might not surprise you if you're just a Smash player, but if you used to Fatal Fury and King of Fighters, Terry Bogard could never do any of these in the air, only whilst on the ground. So it's just crazy he can have this option in this game. It's a really nice touch. I understand it makes sense for this game that he has all his options, but it's just crazy to see Terry Bogard doing a Burn Knuckle from the sky. That's just crazy. So next up we have Back Special, which is his Crack Shoot. What makes this move so great to me is it does anti-air because it hits a bit above him. So if you know the opponent likes to run in and do short hops or just down airs and crazy stuff like that, if you see that coming, a lot of players have to just do their own short hop to meet him in the sky, right? Or just jump and immediately do their own air attacks. Not Terry Bogard, he can just do Back Special because Crack Shoot does hit above him. So it's great for advancing forward. It could go over certain attacks too, since Terry does leave the ground, so it could avoid some lower hitting attacks or even some low projectiles. Flies right in, just like King of Fighters games, but also it's a great anti-air, so a very solid move. I think it may end up being one of his best special attacks in his arsenal, just because it covers so many situations. It's a good anti-air, it can go over some attacks, including low projectiles and all that good stuff, and it hits a lot in front of him too, so a very useful, well-rounded move. And Terry's down special is really, really fun, albeit very risky due to how long that animation is and how long it takes to recover. Now the good news is it's a two-pronged attack. The first part can be a decent anti-air and also hits in front of him, and the final part can spike the opponent. And honestly, even if the first part doesn't land, as long as you master that spacing, it can be a great way to spike the opponent as long as they're not too close to that ledge. Just be careful because this move definitely can ring you out if you're not careful. Thankfully, you can still use a rising tackle afterwards to keep yourself a bit safe, so you can do an up special and still grab that ledge as long as you're smart. Just be expected to miss and then save yourself with that rising tackle if it comes to that. And then last but not least, we have the rising tackle, or if you love English, it's the rising taco. That is what we always called it when I was growing up. This move does not start off with a crazy amount of invincibility. If you do just up special, Terry is a bit immune on his legs, so the opponent can't hit your feet when doing this move. But if you do want to charge down and then up, you notice he flashes a bit there? While he flashes, he is completely invincible. And this is 100% true to how he plays in his standard fighting games that he comes from. This is an invincible, get off me tool, and it does hit on both sides of you. So even though his down smash doesn't travel in both directions, this move certainly does. So if the opponent likes to dodge behind you and go for an attack right away, you can catch him with rising tackle, because not only is it fast and hits on both sides, but it's also fully invincible if you charge it. And unlike in Terry Bogard's normal games, it's not a very long charge. You can do it almost right away. It's about 1 second and then you do it, whereas in most fighting games it's almost 2 seconds of charging before you can do it. So it's much faster, but still just as invincible as it is in other fighting games. And keep in mind, you can charge down with this thing while in the air, which means you have an air invincible special attack, which is pretty cool, right? You could jump in on the opponent, they fly above you and you catch them with this, or you can quick drop and then do it. And I'm wondering if this move can save you after certain attacks that are unsafe, because I did watch the breakdown and they did mention that his burn knuckle can be very unsafe when blocked up close. So I'm wondering if they block that, can I charge rising tackle and then catch him off guard? It doesn't seem like it, but that is a staple in a lot of King of Fighters games. Terry can do an unsafe move and then try to save himself with rising tackle because it's fully invincible. So if the opponent tries to punish you too soon after this unsafe move, you could catch him with rising tackle. Now it doesn't appear to be the case in this game, but even if it is, just keep in mind if the patient opponent blocks that setup, they can punish rising tackle even easier, especially in a game like this. Alright everyone, and that's about it for Terry Bogard. So real quick, my final thoughts on this character. He seems like a pretty well-rounded fighter. His projectiles aren't the best, so he's certainly not a zoner. He's also not the best counter zoner either, because this projectile does not trade with other special attacks for the most part. All that good stuff. I do think he might lose to some characters who are heavy zoners, who are just throwing out tons of projectiles. That's going to be pretty tough for him to deal with. He doesn't have the best tools for that. But that being said, once he gets in, he has some really fun ways to combo because he can just cancel into this stuff. He has the most simple yet creative combo potential of most characters on the roster, so once Terry does manage to close that gap, he has some pretty creative ways to combo into a lot of damage, especially if you want to take the time to master those true inputs. Don't just do rising tackle, do the charge version of rising tackle. That's going to give you a lot more damage if you manage to pull it off. And also keep in mind that Terry has access to super moves when his percentage gets really high. And according to the stream, you can actually do these multiple times, but they're just very unsafe. Even so, you could still combo into them potentially, and that's a lot of damage, if not a guaranteed kill in most situations. So not only is Terry looking like the combo king, but he's also very good at killing the opponent with just one touch, even if he himself is close to death. But that's about it for me, so please let me know your thoughts about Terry in the comment section down below. And then while you're down there, go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.